What's up, YouTube? Capital G here, letting you guys know what the heck happened at YCS Pasadena that took place over the weekend. As you guys might expect, I spent a good portion of my Sunday checking up on the coverage so that you didn't have to. Now, you guys might notice that I did say my Sunday and not my typical whole weekend, and that is because I'm not gonna lie, on Saturday I really didn't pay much attention to Pasadena, and I'll explain why that is a little bit later in the video. But for the most part, I think that it is actually Konami's fault, but you guys will understand when I actually get there. So let's go ahead and start where I always like to start, which is the attendance of Pasadena, which to me, this was surprisingly high. Now, I understand California is the largest state in the United States when it comes to population, and historically California has brought down the house when it comes to attendance, whether it be regionals where sometimes they get over 1,000 people, whether it be YCS Long Beach, which I believe was the event that broke the world record back during the 5Ds days with like over 4,000 people. California events are effing big. That is the point that I'm trying to prove. And right now for this event, we did have 14 or over 1,400 players. We had 1,411 to be exact. That is a little bit down from our previous YCS in London, which I believe was a little over 1,600. But honestly, I thought that there was going to be a natural decline because we saw FTKs being so prominent at YCS London. I told you guys that London was kind of like the real coming out party of the YCSs, even though at Niagara, that's when they kind of, put themselves on the map. But at YCS London, you saw Gym Knight say, hey, we're not the, Danger Dark World isn't the only deck that can FTK. We're here too. And I kind of felt like that was going to have a huge impact on the attendance of this event. Also, the fact that Konami could release a ban list within 3 days, so I kind of feel like a lot of people might just be like, hey, you know what, Cap G, I'll just wait another week and see what the ban list is going to look like. But at the same time, this was the last North American YCS of the year, so some people probably tried to get their Yu-Gi-Oh fix in, and it is very close to the North American holiday of Thanksgiving, so people might have to save some money. So I feel like there are some positives and some negatives, but overall I was very happy with the attendance. I wouldn't have been surprised if this event ultimately bombed and maybe had only about 800 players, just because I feel like with the FTKs in the game, kind of a bad aura right now, and I think a lot of people were kind of just staying away. But I guess the tournament or the numbers say kind of otherwise. Now, when it comes to the top 32, I'm not gonna lie, and I'm just gonna be blunt about this. I was fucking shocked by these results. Obviously, Sky Striker being the most represented, that's not surprising to anybody. Goki obviously doing extremely well. Goki traditionally has done better in North America than it has in Europe, with or without Summon Sorceress. Obviously, with Summon Sorceress, it's a significantly better deck, and these are kind of like, the high tier decks, the upper echelon. But where is the damn Danger Dark World? Some of you guys might see this. This is not Danger Dark World. This is Danger Dark World, only taking up 3%. That means, yes, only one player actually top 32'd with Danger Dark World. You don't see any Gym Knight FTK. The FTK decks as a whole flipping flopped at this event. They did abysmally. And that is just, it's so interesting that when you look at YCS London, that was not too long ago, it was like the FTK coming out party, like they were having a parade and everything was just coming up in spades for them. And you look at one event later with attendance that was fairly similar, just a couple of hundred players difference, and it's basically like night and day. Now, some of you guys might be wondering, what is Danger Dark Warrior? My understanding is obviously there's going to be Armageddon Knight in the deck. Armageddon Knight at this point basically goes in like every deck in Yu-Gi-Oh! But my understanding is that this is basically kind of like a hybrid deck of Danger plus the Phantom Knights. I don't know if you guys have noticed, because also the Dark Warrior deck that like Aaron Furman actually ran, I think he got second place in Swiss. He also ran the Phantom Knights in that. It's basically like a Dark Hero type deck. The Phantom Knights are becoming insanely popular right now, not just because of their ability to summon themselves from the graveyard, the fact that they're warriors so they can go into Isode, the fact that they also can banish themselves from the graveyard to get defensive cards like the Phantom Knights of Fallblade, which basically is kind of like getting an impermanent straight from your deck as a free +1. You also have the ability to play the Phantom Knights of Brigadine. That is basically a trap card that serves the purpose of a monster, kind of let you go into Isode. So the Phantom Knights right now are becoming incredibly popular. The fact that they're dark attribute, you can banish them from Allure of Darkness. If you discard them from a danger card, it's no big deal. You can run them with the beginning of the end and draw a billion cards. Right now in the game, because of Danger Dark World and also just, regular like Danger Dark World and Dark Warrior, and then obviously Danger Dark Warrior, to me it kind of feels like some of you guys might not be able to relate to this, but kind of reminds me of when Phantom Darkness came out, when everything in the meta was basically just dark, 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 dark. Kind of feels like that again, and obviously Armageddonite was stupid back when Phantom Darkness came out because it was in that set, and it's kind of just as popular and prevalent as it is right now. Also, when I look at some of the other things, I was incredibly amazed that Cyber Dragons actually ended up being kind of like the fourth most represented deck with a couple of players in the top 32. And some of you guys might kind of scoff at that. You might be like, oh, come on, Cap G. Who cares about a couple of Cyber Dragons that made top 32 and then immediately scrubbed out? Well, I'll have you know that Mr. Brian Joseph Ramirez actually made it as far as the top freaking 8 with Cyber Dragons. That is an amazing performance. I said at the 200th YCS that I thought that Cyber Dragons were kind of my dark horse pick to make it into the top 8. I guess I was just a little early on that, but Cyber Dragons are obviously doing it big. A lot of people excited, and it is kind of like the only dedicated go second deck in Yu-Gi-Oh! There's Mech Knight Invoke, but that deck isn't nearly as good as Cyber Dragons. I think the fact is when you do have Cyber Dragon that can basically out any extra link board, and you have so many cards in your deck where like half the deck counts as Cyber Dragon, you also have a good Sky Striker matchup because those are machine. You can just contact fuse with those, and then they're not actually like, they're not going to activate at that point because they're not destroyed. I think that Cyber Dragons is a deck that people have to look out for. I was a little hurt by the fact that Ultra guys only got one player in the top 32, and the crazy thing is, and this has always been kind of a Yu-Gi-Oh curse if you guys know your history, going all the way back to the GX days, he did go undefeated. He went undefeated in Swiss, didn't lose a single match to anyone, and then he immediately loses in the top 32. It's the curse of like the undefeated, man. Sometimes I think in the last round you should just lose on purpose to break the curse, but that has always kind of been a thing. A lot of the players who end up going undefeated in Swiss, a lot of times they end up losing their first match in the top cut, and that did happen to Ultra guys. We also saw Thunder Dragons predictably getting a couple of spots in the top 32. Thunder Dragons really good matchups against like Trickstar and Sky Striker. If you put the Colossus on board turn 1, obviously your opponent's not going to be able to search, and that can be difficult. Same thing kind of goes for Goki. It really shuts down ISO'd. One of the feature matches, the guy just made like Colossus, and then I think he made like he like set a card and his opponent made ISO'd, and then was just like, I scoop. I can't get over this freaking Colossus. Basically, it was GT no re. I know that there was a little rumor going around about Gren Maju in the top 32 that was not actually accurate. Not only does Carlancho say, or Carlancho store say otherwise, which I trust them, but I actually checked the top 32 page myself, which you can click right here and go like straight to it. It didn't happen. There was no Gren Maju in top 32, and this is really interesting, right? So Konami was doing some other things at this event. This was an opportunity for them to try to promote speed dueling as well. You guys know speed dueling is coming out early next year. Now this is really interesting that they were promoting it, and it does show the difference between cards that are used in speed duels and cards that are used in regular Yu-Gi-Oh duels. They say speed duel on the card so that, you know, people can't cheat if the cards do have different effects, but they are the same cards. You can't try to use one of these speed duel cards in, you know, a regular Yu-Gi-Oh deck. Although I guess if maybe your opponent's not paying attention or you got some type of crazy sleeves, maybe you can, but there will be a difference printed on the actual speed duel card so that you know these can't be used in a regular Yu-Gi-Oh duel and that they're specifically for speed duels. A couple of other things that Konami was doing at this event that I thought was interesting. Apparently they're doing something called the School Tournament Series, and I guess it's a 3v3 college tournament, right? Where a bunch of college kids are kind of dueling against each other, kind of like you know, a Yu-Gi-Oh 5Ds Cup type deal where it's 3v3. And the interesting thing is, so the players kind of get prizes, they get cards of what you might expect, but guess what? There actually is a straight up cash prize, but the cash goes to the school. You can see right here that the cash gets, or the school actually gets $1,000 hard cash, dude. This is actually like ridiculous. The fact is, guys, a lot of people have been saying, you know, we want cash prizes in Yu-Gi-Oh! The cash apparently is just straight up there. It's just Konami doesn't want to give it to the players, man. Now, obviously, Takahashi never wanted to have cash prizes in Yu-Gi-Oh! But I don't know, maybe this is kind of like the first step. Another thing that I found really interesting is that Konami actually had a charity event at YCS Pasadena, and this was really cool. It was kind of like a Toys for Tots type deal where you could actually enter a tournament and you didn't have to pay any entry fee. There was no money needed to play. All you have to do is actually donate a toy and you had free entry to this event. event, and it actually was kind of nice. You got tournament packs, which were pretty cool, and I think it goes to a really good cause. And honestly, I kind of want to see them do more stuff like this. I know at the OTS stores they were promoting, you know, these kind of tournaments or these charity tournaments where instead of actually paying money to enter the tournament, you'd actually just donate. You donate like canned goods, which is really good, and it's kind of nice to see that Konami actually does care and that they're putting forth some effort to, you know, charitable organizations, which I think can always be commended. Like, I think that's always a good thing. Now, the last couple of things that I want to touch on was a very kind of weird and mysterious play that people are calling out that actually happened in the top 8, or excuse me, this was the top 4, where this guy opened up with instant fusion. He summoned invoked Raijin, activate Phantom Knights of Brigadine, he got an Isoed off, searched out Blue Mountain Butter Spy, and then he got Goki Octo Stretch from his Isoed, and then he basically just went Link Karibo Pass. Like, he had everything that he needed to pop off, but he didn't do anything. Now, some people like myself are saying, hey, maybe he actually just had all hand traps in his hand, and that's why he couldn't pop off. And then some people are saying, like, this guy, you know, he was paid to just like throw the game. He had ways of popping off, but he just didn't want to do it. He was paid to throw the game, and he did ultimately lose this match. It does look kind of fishy and suspicious, but you know that obviously he's a good player because he made the top 4. It's just kind of weird that he would do this kind of weird play where he has Isoed, he hasn't even used his normal summon yet, and he just does not actually do anything. He could have probably Gumblar extra linked his opponent, but just doesn't do it. And then the last thing is with the rare hunters, guys. You guys know you always got to watch your stuff at events. You know, I'm speaking from experience. I have lost multiple decks at Yu-Gi-Oh! Regionals before, but the rare hunters got fucked at this event. What you guys are seeing is at YCS Pasadena, multiple rare hunters getting arrested for stealing cards. That is embarrassing. Look at that. Everybody looking at them, and these boys got them handcuffs on. So, and then by the way, this is no mistaken arrest, no wrongful arrest. You can't solemn this. You go straight to the ban list. What's the card that has Sangan? And all the cards, I forget exactly what card there, but you guys know what I'm talking about. But whatever you guys thought about YCS Pasadena, leave it in the comment section below. What do you guys think the biggest takeaway from this event was? Do you guys think that this might actually affect the ban list? Is Konami not going to hit the FTKs now? Now they need to hit them damn FTKs, but whatever you guys think, leave it in the comment section below. Thank you guys for watching. As always, subscribe if you have not already, and turn on that notification bell for daily videos.